Welcome to Stay Wavy TV. Enjoy and ride the wave.
Conor Benn snakes his longtime manager Eddie Hearn and officially signs with Dana White's Zuffa Boxing. Now, this took Eddie Hearn by surprise, man. I just seen an interview with Eddie Hearn talking about this situation, and he looked like he was about to cry, bruh. And he has a reason to, right? When Conor Benn got caught with PEDs in his system and the entire United Kingdom basically turned their back on Conor Benn, and Conor Benn became, the UK's boxing villain. Like, nobody liked Conor Benn, right? And Eddie Hearn was basically on the front line proclaiming Conor Benn's innocence, saying that the test results didn't come out right. And Eddie Hearn was able to clear Conor Benn's name so he could remove that PED stigma from his name. Now, people still call him out for testing positive, but he was able to basically resume Conor Benn's boxing career to where he can fight and not be suspended, right? So he made the super fights happen between him and Chris Eubank Jr. over there in the UK. Both fights were a big success over there. I watched both of the fights. And, obviously the fight was big because, Conor Benn, whose father is Nigel Benn, and Chris Eubank Sr., they fought each other when they were in their professional boxing careers. That's why this fight was such a big deal, because you had two sons fighting each other when their fathers fought each other in the past. You know what I'm saying? Conor Benn came up short in the first fight, and then Conor Benn came out and basically put belt the ass on Chris Eubank Jr. in the rematch. And now Conor Benn has become a big name in the sport of boxing. I'm not going to say he's a star over here in America, but he's definitely a big name in the sport of boxing. And Eddie Hearn was literally in the process of making the fight happen between Conor Benn and Shakur Tupac Stevenson. So the fact that Conor Benn decided to, leave this guy who basically was riding for him, when he was at his lowest point of his career, it's kind of shocking, but it just goes to show, man, business is business. There's no friends in business. And I think Eddie Hearn is really learning that, because this is now the second time this has happened to Eddie Hearn, right? Richardson Hitchens. Eddie Hearn felt like he got snaked when, he positioned Richardson Hitchens to become a champion at 140. He's the one that set up the fight between Richardson Hitchens and Liam Paro, right? When a boxer becomes a champion in the sport of boxing, that's when they start getting those $1 million paydays. And Eddie Hearn, he's the one that was managing and representing Richardson Hitchens when he got his fight with Liam Paro, where he beat Liam Paro and became a champion. Richardson Hitchens did the same thing Conor Benn did. Richardson Hitchens no longer wanted to be signed to Matchroom. He no longer wanted Eddie Hearn to be his manager, and Eddie Hearn felt pissed off about that. So at some point, we got to start asking this question. What exactly is Eddie Hearn doing to his fighters to where his fighters feel like they shouldn't have to be loyal to him? Is Eddie Hearn taking too much money from his fighters' paydays? Like, that's what I think it is, right? I think that the fighters are realizing that when they're with Matchroom and Eddie Hearn is their manager, Eddie Hearn must be getting a big cut of their paycheck. And these fighters are realizing, why would I let this guy keep managing me? Why would I stick with Matchroom Boxing Promotions when this guy's taking all of my money? But at the same time, what they got to understand is Eddie Hearn does a great job promoting his fighters, bro. When you sign to Matchroom and you have Eddie Hearn as your manager, he is going to make it seem like you are the best thing since sliced bread, right? You look at Devin Haney, Shakur, Richardson Hitchens, Conor Benn, right? Jerron Boots Ennis is currently signed with Matchroom. Whenever you assign to Matchroom and you got Eddie Hearn as your promotional, you have him as your promoter, he's gonna do everything in his power to help you become a star in the sport of boxing. And he does a damn good job at doing it. Like, Eddie Hearn is really good at talking. He's really good at making you believe what he says when he says good things about his fighter. So, I see why Eddie Hearn is taking a big cut out of these dudes' paycheck, but the fact that he's positioning these guys to become champions. Edgar Berlanga's another one. I forgot about that. There was a point in time where Edgar Berlanga was signed to Eddie Hearn, and Eddie Hearn helped Edgar Berlanga get that fight with him and Canelo Alvarez. So this is three boxers that got title shots, got career high paydays with Eddie Hearn, and after they got the biggest fights of their career, they left Eddie Hearn. Which, once again, Eddie Hearn must be taking a big chunk of these dudes' paychecks, bro. They must be looking at the percentage of money that Eddie Hearn is getting from what they get paid, and they must be saying to themselves, man, fuck this dude. You got paid one time. You got your big payday off of me, bro. Now I'm going to do my own thing. Now I'm going to go to a different promotional company to where they're not taking as much money as you are. So, you know, at this point, man, the only boxer that has really stayed loyal to Eddie Hearn long term is Anthony Joshua. You know, Anthony Joshua, he's pretty much started his career with Eddie Hearn in Matchroom. It is looking like AJ is going to finish his career with Eddie Hearn in Matchroom. So, you know, Anthony Joshua is obviously one of the biggest names in the sport of boxing. If we're talking about pay-per-views and putting butts in seats, you know, he's really the biggest heavyweight boxer in the world right now. Even though, you know, he hasn't won his biggest fights, it doesn't matter. He's still a big name. Like, people love Anthony Joshua over there in the UK. Anthony Joshua just came to America and knocked out Jake Paul. Anthony Joshua is bigger than he's ever been right now, right? Like, whenever Anthony Joshua has his next fight, you know, it's going to do numbers. It's going to be historical because of that Jake Paul fight. So, yeah, man, I think it's messed up what Conor Benn did to Eddie Hearn. You know what I'm saying? Especially because Eddie Hearn and Dana White, they don't even like each other, right? They don't even get along. This is a one-fight deal. Conor Benn is, we're hearing reports that this is an 8-figure one-fight deal. So basically, Conor Benn is going to have one fight with Zuffa Boxing, and then after that, he's going to be a free agent again. So, yeah, man, shout out to Eddie Hearn, man. You got to feel bad for Eddie Hearn, man, because, you know, whether you like Eddie Hearn or not, one thing that you can't deny is he's great at his job, bro. He does a great job, you know, promoting his fighters, man. I remember when Terrence Bud Crawford fought Israel Majimov. I didn't know anything about Israel Majimov, but the way that Eddie Hearn was talking about him, it literally made me go on YouTube and watch Israel Majimov's fights. And I said, damn, this guy might have a really good chance of beating Terrence Bud Crawford. And listen, a lot of people like myself think Israel Majimov beat Terrence Crawford in that fight at 154, right? Obviously, Terrence Crawford fans don't feel that way, but Israel Majimov landed a lot of punches on Terrence Crawford, bro. You know what I'm saying? I think that was one of Terrence Crawford's toughest fights in his entire professional boxing career. So shout out to Eddie Hearn, man. Let me know what you guys think about this. It's your boy Wavy, Stay Wavy TV. Make sure y'all subscribe, hype the video, and most importantly, let me know what y'all think about this in the comments. I'm out.
Welcome to Stay Wavy TV. Enjoy and ride the wave. Welcome to Stay Wavy TV.